I'd like to call the August 23rd meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council to order at 1:11 p.m. Are we ready? Machine is open for roll call. I'm sorry. Let the record reflect 7 council members are present at the table. Councilman Edgecombe is in the building. I would like to ask the administration, are you ready to move to executive session at this time? Yeah? Ms. Barbara?
Marcel Bigford and Centola APC, David L. Landry Esquire, and King Krebs and Jurgens P. LLC versus Plaquemines Parish Government, 25th JDC case number 64-201, Division A. Attorney Peter Barbay, Councilmember Lapine.
At this time, Councilmember Lapine, you make offer to move to Councilmember Lapine offers to move to executive session. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Burt. Machine is open to move to executive session. The record will reflect we'll move into executive session at 1:12 p.m.
Still going?
Well, she'll be all right. I'd like to call the Plaquemines Parish Council meeting back to order, coming out of executive session at 1:30 p.m. with no legal or binding action being taken. Next item on the agenda, please.
Status report by the Parish President.
President Cormier.
For the record, I'm Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier. This is the status report from August 10th to August 23rd, 2018. First of all, I want to begin by noting that in an article, August 21st, 2018, in the New Orleans Advocate, the Corps has backed the dredge plan of the Mississippi River, which would dredge deepen the lower Mississippi River by another 5 feet. This plan was signed off by Mr. James Dalton, who used to be commissioner on the Mississippi River Commission. He has now been moved up to the, he's the lead or head civilian in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Mr. Dalton is fond of Plaquemines Parish, as many years ago he had a wonderful fishing trip at Port Eads. We've maintained this relationship, and this is good news for us because in signing off on this $238 million project, it once again just affirms what Plaquemines Parish government has been saying, in that if the CPRA would just collaborate with the Corps, there's money there for dredging, and then we could just pay for the piping and build a lot more land than just 25,000 acres in 30 years. Second of all, I want to thank Mr. Mike Brault. Mr. Brault was kind enough to donate last week a portable air conditioner that was installed in one of the kennel sides of the Paws building. As you know, the Paws building is a Plaquemines Parish building. It is the only no-kill shelter on the West Bank. So it has a broad coverage area. And to address a little bit more about this matter, as you also know, has been in litigation for several years. And I thought it was time, since there seems to be a lot of talk on social media, contrary to the CEA that exists with PAWS, because Plaquemines Parish government provides PAWS with this. It's approximately a $3.9 million building, rent-free. And also, this year, provided PAWS with, I think it was $220,000, which, I've said this before, but parish government has turned over that $220,000 in cash to PAWS, but to date, we still have not been reimbursed by the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. That is where the cash was supposed to come from, and to date, it's only, that was passed, enacted in January 1 of 2018, and we're August 23rd, and parish government floated the cash, and we're still waiting to be reimbursed. But without further ado, Mr. Chris Tankersley, who is, will tell us, without revealing any secrets, confidentiality agreements in the litigation, is going to give us an update on the PAWS building, which has certainly had deficiencies.
Thank you, President Cormier. Ladies and gentlemen, as President Cormier said, this is in litigation, so I'm restricted in what all I can say in open session. But it's important that at this point in time, we have information that indicates there are some it may be possible to save the existing building, certainly short-term, possibly long-term. And what we need to have done is we have experts that have been retained to assist in litigation, and we need to have our experts spend the time to determine whether or not these possible solutions are viable, both short-term and long-term. And we expect that in the very near future, we would be able to start looking at some of those possible solutions and reaching some conclusions on the basis of our expert analysis, which is obviously at that point in time, we would expect to, at your pleasure, attend another executive session to explain those issues to you. President Cormier, you want to say anything else? Is that enough?
I would like to. Mr. Russo, we have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm entertaining some questions, and my question is pretty generic. It's time frame. Where are we in the legal process?
In the legal process?
Yes, we're suing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at? Where are we in the 25th Judicial? We in the 4th Circuit? Where are we?
Oh, no, we're before, I think it's Judge Clement.
And we're in discovery phase?
Oh, yes, yes.
And when do you have a trial date?
We don't have a trial date because we're trying to move forward and avoid litigation if necessary, because that will be very costly.
And are there settlement discussions taking place?
Yes, there are.
Thank you.
Mr. Byrd?
Yeah, I'd just like to clear up a comment that the President made about the port. Let me just read this. The interagency fees that the port pays the parish are not earmarked for PAWS. They're earmarked for 911, fire, EMS, etc. So your statement is not accurate. Thank you.
And let me,
Mr. Russo?
just to follow up on that discussion, we had a meeting with the staff at the port, and they have agreed to pay us on a quarterly basis on the actual expenditures per the percentage that we have agreed on in the budget hearing, and we're looking forward to that check.
Okay.
Mr. Cormier?
Yes, and Mr. Tankersley, if you would, though, what would be your estimate? No one here wants another, this is the same A&E firm that handled the Boothville Venice Community Center.
Correct.
No one here wants another fiasco like that. What would you recommend that that the council appropriate so that we make sure we have our own independent experts? I know that the A&E firm that is the defendant in this case, they made representations as engineers that the building is salvageable, but what would you recommend that we have on hand to see to it that Plaquemines' interest and the interest of seeing to it that this only no-kill shelter on the West Bank can have a building that goes out 30 or 40 years and doesn't just continue to subside?
I think if we were to go through full litigation, it would be much more than this, but at least at present, I think at least $250,000 should be sufficient. But if we do go through full litigation, it would be much more than that.
Mr. Black? Mr. Black has a comment.
Yeah, Chris, I'm glad you mentioned that number of $250,000, because that's exactly the number that this council authorized your firm to have. Not just for this case, but other cases, and I think Peter is working with your firm to manage how those
Right.
funds get spent.
Now, that's just for this case.
I understand that,
Okay.
but we've already appropriated $250,000 to your firm, and no other funds have been requested from the administration yet. So, I think if Peter, manages the caseload properly, then we'll know kind of where we're at. I know you guys represent us in a couple other cases.
Correct.
But we've already appropriated $250, just to be clear that, we're not sitting up here asking to do something that's for free.
No, I understand.
Right.
Thank you. On August 13th, we had a meeting with one of our engineers, and Miss Dominique Seibert, who is originally from the East Bank of Plaquemines, and she helped craft the form, questionnaire we can call it, for the coastal restoration town hall meetings. So our thanks go out to Ms. Seibert. We've had many people fill out that questionnaire. This questionnaire has more in-depth questions than the one that CPRA prepared. On Tuesday, August 14th, we had a Regional Planning Commission committee meeting. Chairwoman Williams, Councilman Roussel, and I presented the proclamation to the long-term serving member, Mr. Brooks, who was retiring. And we look forward to continuing to work with RPC on behalf of the region. On Tuesday, August 14th as well, that evening, right here in the Percy Griffin Community Center, had a well-attended coastal restoration town hall meeting. The people on the East Bank know the effects of large-scale freshwater diversions going into their fisheries. We heard many fishermen here testified how their lifestyles have been devastated. This was an area that had the most prolific public oyster seabed grounds on the Louisiana coast, and now it is producing just about nothing. The August 15th had a meeting with our Chief Engineer, Mr. Ken Dugas, regarding the automated meter implementation. We continue to work on that. On the 16th, I want to thank Councilman Bartholomew, our Director Don Beschel, and Mr. Robert Jackson. Had a meeting there on some issues here on the East Bank as well. On Saturday, August 18th, and I have a letter here from Industrial Pump Sales. We want to, besides thanking Mr. Mike Brault for the portable AC, I want to thank Mr. Woody Yandell of Industrial Pump Sales, who he was the individual with whom we have the contract to obtain these specialty pumps for the LEED certified PAWS building. LEED stands for environmentally friendly type certified building, and in it he states that they have contacted Goulds regarding the shipment of the second of the 3 pumps. Those pumps we posted on the parish government site. Those pumps are being shipped in from New York, and they're being manufactured there. The second pump, he hopes and expects it to arrive or shipped tomorrow. We've requested, or they've requested, that it be expedited via FedEx, and he hopes to once again be there Saturday morning to install the second of the 3 pumps. I have already given my approval to such action by Industrial Pump Sales, and we hope that, and he believes that once complete, all 3 pumps should be working properly and without leaks. He notes also that each of the 3 pumps were working properly as of Saturday, August 18th, and that and they were also developing the expected discharge pressures when Industrial Pump Sales finished working on Saturday, August 18th. We had a follow-up meeting, and we were there Saturday, we were there Monday. Actually had pictures of frost on the windows there. At our Monday meeting, we had the attendance of the manager from PAWS and another assistant, as well as Mr. Mike Brault and one of our consultants. And we discovered, going through the original specs, that the design temperature for the kennels and holding rooms in the summer, it was only designed for a temperature of 82 degrees. I think I requested that the manager of PAWS take that back to the executive board. She thought that that was too high of a temperature. We agree with her, but I think she has to hear back from the board before she wants to concur on behalf of PAWS. We also had a meeting on Monday, August 20th. I had to leave that meeting after about an hour and a half because of a scheduled meeting. Councilman Bartholomew, Councilman Roussel, and Councilman Lapine on our rebuilding of our Point LaHash Courthouse at the parish seat. That matter continues to proceed forward, and we're keeping a close eye on the expenditures and how to get the most bang for the taxpayer's buck. I also had a meeting that day with Mr. Bob Becknell of the YMCA. There was a request that parish government support the YMCA and or issue a letter on behalf of the YMCA, as they will be asking for contributions, and we certainly agree and support that, and we'll be issuing a form letter as soon as we receive one. On Tuesday, August 21st, we had our town hall meeting regarding coastal restoration in Port Sulphur. It was very well attended, and there too, as usual, I can't thank enough Mr. Ken Savastano, Mr. John Tesvich, President of Louisiana Oyster Task Force, Mr. Ken Savastano, who's our own volunteer, although he's a retired National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration federal scientist who lives here on the East Bank, and also Captain George Ricks from St. Bernard for giving so much of their time and once again putting on presentations regarding coastal restoration. Last, certainly not least, regarding other project statuses, we are proud to announce that as of Friday, August 17th, we want to compliment Garrett Plumbing. Garrett Plumbing finished the plumbing services of the Charles Ballet's building. Contrary to what was reported in the local paper, that job was finished and complete, and toilets were flushing. We're glad to assist Mr. Ballet since he couldn't do that on his own. We did finish some drywall work on the following Monday, and I believe that drywall work was also completed. Regarding the West Point Lahash Ferry, as many of you have now noted, I want to thank Director Giles. That dolphin replacement reinstatement was done, and the West Point Lahash Ferry is back in service. Thank you. And thanks to Director Giles and the company. Yeah. And thanks to Mr. Dugas for working on that. We had a pre-construction meeting that was held by engineering with Beverly Construction on the West Bank Sewer Project. That one's scheduled, that's scheduled for tomorrow. There was a pre-construction meeting held yesterday and regarding the Grand Bayou Dock project. Good News Drainage notice to proceed, I believe, will be issued on August 27th. Main Street Drainage, final plans were submitted to FEMA GOSEP, and we're awaiting their release of the construction funding. We also have good news to report that we've reached a settlement regarding the second wave of BP monies, and that came in just over $11 million. That will allow the council, if it so wishes, to move forward with the Belle Chase water intake plant. I can't recall the exact status of that legislation, but I'm sure the council will handle that promptly. Also, I'd like to ask Ms. Lori Franovich to come up. We have, with these funds, we certainly would also ask that we all know about the old state of a lot of our ambulances. We have ambulances in this parish that I believe do not have air conditioning. And I'm going to let Ms. Franovich speak about that.
Our ambulance fleet is deteriorating. Last time I was in the Belle Chase unit, it was 3070. It had no air conditioning. Shortly after that, on a Sunday afternoon, it broke down. And it was not... Belle Chase went 3 days without an ambulance. The medics were put in an SUV to go and render initial care. It didn't come back into play until Wednesday afternoon. It's uncalled for. There were 2 ambulances on the east bank of the river. 24. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, we went 3 days without ambulance service in Belle Chase. Okay, right now, currently, Belle Chase is running in 3063. That's the number of the unit. It's 14 years old. We have Unit 3065 that is declared unrepairable according to TRICO's estimate. Don't know the number of the estimate. We have Unit 3066 that's 10 years old. 3067, the last medic that utilized it reported that the air conditioner wasn't working and that it is having trouble starting. It's been at the state school. I'm calling it state school. It's been at the office for the last 3 weeks that I know of. I don't know if the mechanics there are attempting to work on it or it just hasn't been brought to the shop. I'm not sure. Unit 3068 is being utilized by Point Lahash. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 9 years old. Unit 3069 is being used in Braithwaite. It's 7 years old. 3070, which was Belchase's truck, has been out of service for a while, and it's about 7 years old. Then we have our newest units, which is in Port Alpha and Venice, and they're 4 years old. We normally used to have 2 units every 2 years, and as they rotated out, basically the last one was 6 years old. 6 to 7 years old when they would get a new one. We are so far behind. We are running. We shouldn't be running this way. It shouldn't be happening. I know money's a crunch and what have you, but we need 4 brand new ambulances now. We are operating out of 5 as opposed to 6. We need 4 because one of those need to be a spare, one of the 4-year-old ones, because the other ones shouldn't even be on the road. You know, there's just too many breakdowns. It's not reliable. How can you have an unreliable ambulance? Anyway, so I got some paperwork for y'all on, there was some concern about privatizing. Privatizing is a word that tends to imply, let somebody take it over, they make some money, leave us alone. It doesn't work that way. The geography of this parish and the population doesn't dictate that. It's not profitable business here, an ambulance service. Gretna has 4 square miles to work with and a heavy population. Westwego has 1 square mile. You can't compare this to these situations. We have a very long linear highway divided by a river. We were operating with 6 units, and I compared our service to, I think it was 6 or 7 other services, and we beat the closest one by $100,000 per unit per year on base salary alone. Now, if you included how many other medics they required, you would also be adding benefits and stuff. So it would be more than $100,000 per unit per year. And private can't come in and do that. So private would come in and give you less service at a higher cost because you would pay their full coverage plus guarantee them a profit. Otherwise, they're not coming. So as far as I'm concerned, privatization, and these numbers have been run before. It's astronomical what private wants. You know, the first year I was in the service, I went and inquired at civil service about privatization, and the numbers were just atrocious. We can't afford that. If we attempt to pay that, we're cutting the services. And in the end, no matter who you pay, the people pay for this. So,
Ms. Laurie, I just want to make a comment. If I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, we did allocate funding to purchase new ambulances last year?
yes, you did. $400,000.
And
we don't know where it went. Finance
none were
says it was
purchased,
in the
correct?
budget. Yeah.
So that would be a management perspective, something that needs to be taken up on that level, because the council did allocate, because we know the condition of the ambulances. We've heard y'all cries. You know, we hear from the residents, and as does everyone. But I just wanted the public to know that we did allocate funding to purchase ambulances last year. They have not been purchased. And I don't know how much an ambulance costs. I mean, I know it's probably a couple $100,000, you know. So, I mean, at least you could have got 1, maybe 2 out of that $400,000. And I know it's not enough, but I just wanted the record to reflect that this present council did allocate funding to purchase ambulances.
I actually think your key word is the management. That is your key word on this, the management of
Well, we're not going to get into discussion, you know, about that, because everybody has their own, you know, and we've reported it, things have been reported, you know, so That's something that the council has no control over. As far as management goes, the council has no control over that. We allocate the funding. And how it's managed is not, you know, we don't manage it. To the aspect of overseeing it, the day-to-day.
To me, the move of putting us under fire was not a bad idea. Fire was not just huge, it was growing. So without the need to grow, because people, from my perspective, people voted in fire to lower their insurance. That didn't happen. So instead of striving to make everybody a number 3 station, I showed you the difference between a 4 and a 7 was $20 a year.
Right, yes, ma'am.
So instead of spending an exorbitant amount of money to make fire grow so big and continually grow, you know, bring it back to where that everybody can manage a 5 or a 6, because that serves the people. You know, I mean, the growth of fire is a problem. You know, the size of fire, 76 firemen probably could be done with 54 firemen. I mean, that is part of management, though. Who does he answer to? And, I mean...
But that...
He being Mr. Robichaux?
He's the only
answers
management...
to...
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry. Yes.
It's my understanding that he answers to Reverend Giles and Mr. Cormier. And then Mr. Cormier, the chain of command.
The bottom line, Ms. Williams, the buck stopped with Mr. Cormier. But we have to take responsibility
Absolutely.
to say that it was no management. I was totally against consolidating those 2 departments. I don't think enough thought was given to that. That's where the problem started.
Yes, and if it would have been a percentage basis, fire gets 75%, EMS gets 25%, and we had our own representation, we might have had a chance. The way it is now, exorbitant amounts of money are being spent on overtime to firemen. Our medics start at $10 an hour.
Right, well...
For a 24-hour period.
Your main concern is the ambulances and the services that are not being provided right now.
Right now, we are crippled.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Black?
Yeah, all right. I got a list of items that you brought up, and I appreciate it. And I want to go and say on the record that the consolidation was a unanimous vote by this council. And then when it came up to be split apart, it died for lack of a second twice. So that's the voting history behind the consolidation. I appreciate that you noticed that you thought the consolidation was a good idea.
I think it could have worked.
It could work, but the key word is management. So let me just finish my conversation here, because that is the key word behind this whole thing. For 3 years ago is when we consolidated those departments. And I think there's enough money in that sales tax to operate EMS and fire jointly. There has been no effort whatsoever to make it work. Zero. Now, Ms. Williams pointed out that we appropriated money last year for new ambulances. I also had an ordinance on the table that fell off in 2017, August is when I introduced it, and it fell off because the 3 council meetings that I had it up to offer, nobody showed up or had answers, not you guys, but from management, to discuss why they needed that much money. And now, if you want us to appropriate $500 to $1 million worth of capital, it's tough when we still have the issue of privatization sitting out there. Now, you brought up some concerns about privatization. The question that we voted on to give to the president was to go out and get proposals. See, you're making up numbers based on your experience. We've had companies, it's based on your experience. The numbers you came up.
I can validate all my numbers.
Okay. We've had private companies come to us and say, we want to operate in Plaquemines Parish. My response was you will not operate in Plaquemines Parish unless you operate in all of Plaquemines Parish. They said, we are very interested. Very interested. Myself, I know Mr. Broussel has spoke to some folks. Many council members have spoken to private companies who are ready to give us proposals. We've asked the administration by resolution to go out and get proposals and present it to the council. They refuse to do it. So we don't know how much it would cost to privatize. We don't know the effects that it would have to privatize. All we know is the basic generic facts that they have given us, which is we can cover Plaquemines Parish, and we can cover it with 4 or 5 units. And when one unit from Buras has to make a run up, the units shift, and one from Gretna and fills into Plaquemines. So you will always have that number of coverage. Same thing with the East Bank. If the East Bank unit goes on a call, as soon as they go on a call, they're dispatched from St. Bernard, and they come and fill in there. So that's what we were told. We were never given an official proposal. We passed that resolution a year ago, asking the administration to do that. So that could be one reason why no more money has been spent to go buy capital, especially if we decide to privatize, and now we have $1 million worth of inventory, wasting. So that's the issue with that. The issue with the management part of it is a very simple chain of command. Very simple chain of command, and you work in an emergency service profession, and here's the chain of command, you have to follow it. The fire chief is your direct supervisor. We have advocated, this council has advocated to have someone be a representative within that department. We've discussed creating a position to have someone as an EMS focal that reports to Roy to have your best interests in mind. That's never been done either, because it's never been brought to us. The chief reports to the director of public service. The director of public service reports to the president. And like Ms. Sullivan said, the buck stops there. So this council has done everything we can do. We've asked for proposals on privatization to compare the cost savings to the taxpayer. We've asked for the purchase of ambulances and other services. We've asked for presentations about why do we need more services. Nothing.
Ms. Franovich, how many years of experience do you have with EMS?
11 and a half years.
Okay. So now, contrary to some of the misstatements that Councilman Black was making, I believe that your experience qualifies you to opine on what the way the parish emergency EMS should be run. It's easy for anyone to play Monday morning quarterback, but the numbers don't lie. The numbers were, and I wasn't here when this consolidation occurred, and once again, the numbers went down in funding. It was done because of the record high debt, that payments that had to be made, $9 million a year. So the budget in 2016, and even going back as far as 2015, had to go down. There were cuts, massive cuts. That's incontrovertible, Councilman Black. So for you to sit here, now, like I said, and you're entitled to your opinion, I personally think someone who has 11 years experience in EMS with healthcare knowledge and experience, because I don't have a medical degree or an EMS certification. I think they're entitled to some deference. And I think when someone's been working in this field for 11 and a half years and comes and tells you that we have ambulances that don't have air conditioning in them, instead of trying to pass the buck, your job is to get the money, and I just delivered some money.
The money has been allocated.
Excuse me. I just delivered some money from the BP and simply requesting that this council look into and entertain an expenditure to get an air conditioner in an ambulance and some of the other things. The fleet management budget has been decimated. You go to any corporate world, any business, you have inventory management. The sheriff's office just bought a whole lot of brand new vehicles, and rightfully so, because as vehicles get older, maintenance costs go up. And so I feel that when we have people in the field who have, like Ms. Franovich, who has more experience with this than you do, or than I do, I think they should be entitled to some deference.
And I gave her the deference. I told her that I agree with her and I appreciate her input. But I also said that a professional corporation, that is a corporation who provides emergency medical services to probably millions of people, might hold a little bit more water, which is the private companies.
I'd like to
and I'm going to ask, hold on, I'm going to ask another question.
Yeah.
I want to ask Ms. Stanford, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but, you know, how many contracts has anybody on this council authorized through your office? Or any purchases, large purchases? The answer is none. because that's not our job. We appropriated the money, like Councilwoman Williams said.
was
So if you want to put
insufficient amount.
if you want to put, it's always an insufficient amount. If you want to put an air conditioner in an ambulance, go put an air conditioner in an ambulance, because you have the funds to do it. The problem is, like everybody in this room just said a minute ago, it's about the management, or the lack thereof.
Not everyone, exactly.
Mr. Cook.
The funding was cut, and that's a fact, and that's the
The
numbers don't
funding was,
lie.
I'm going to tell you what, the funding was not cut. What happened was, as you well know, oil and gas went from $100 a barrel to $34. And the 1 cent sales tax that fire and EMS gets also went down because of that. So instead of getting $9 million a year, they started to get $7 million a year. So the funding source was cut.
Actually,
So we asked the administration through another resolution that Mr. Russo had, I believe, and we passed it, to have a company go out and collect the fees from the ambulance services. And it's not a fee, we discussed this, it's not a fee to the residents, it's a fee to the insurance companies. We were leaving $250,000 to $500,000 on the table. So why didn't you go and get that contract utilized?
And that has been, the collection service has been implemented. And you made another reference to speaking to private contractors, which this administration has. But when we had this debate, and I can't remember what the council wanted, and I think it's right.
We wanted proposals.
If it was 5 or 6 ambulances, the proposal did not include the same amount that was requested.
Well, let
to
them
service
justify it.
all of Plaquemines Parish.
Then let them come to us, give us a presentation on the proposals, and then justify why it's 4 or 5 and not 6.
They told me that they could make the numbers work, their profit margin would work at that number of ambulances.
Did you tell us that? Did you
I
convey
did
that?
at a
No, you
prior
didn't.
council meeting.
No, you have never conveyed the meetings that you had with private companies to us.
I reported at a prior council meeting that the issue was, and that was with the group that you wanted to give the business to, Acadian.
I don't want to give the business to anybody. I want to give
That the issue
proposals.
was the number of ambulances, because this is a long parish.
Did they present you with a proposal?
They
did? Did they?
They did, and I just
Did you present the
referred, it
did
was
you-
not the number of ambulances
Did
that
you
was
present the proposal
was
to the
demanded
council?
at a council meeting.
Did you present a proposal to the council?
No, he did not.
Did this council, by resolution,
I reported.
majority resolution,
Look,
ask
Councilman,
the
I know
president
if it were up to you, you'd privatize, you'd do away with parish government.
No, it's not.
And outsource everything.
No.
And you're entitled to that opinion.
I would do my due diligence.
But there's
Hey,
there's
okay.
something to be said there's something to be said that this parish has functioned for a long time with an autonomous EMS and you had a volunteer fire department, and now we have a paid fire department. But those were 2 separate entities. And so when the money crunch came, because of the debt payments and because of the downturn in some of the oil and gas prices, then the idea was, well, let's lump 2 entities together. Neither one has enough money, and we'll solve the problem that way. That
Well,
doesn't work.
Actually, Ms. Franovich, with her experiences you're referring to, said it could work.
Yes. But
From
lack
the
of management
from the
is the issue.
standpoint of revenue flow, that is the issue.
May I say something? The council did allocate the $400,000 for the purchase of 2 new ambulances. Speaking of Mr. Franovich's 11 and a half years of experience, I've been doing this for almost 25 years. And I'm going to tell you, $400,000 will most definitely buy 2 brand spanking new ambulances. So my question is, the council did do their job. They allocated those funds. They looked in the best interest of the residents and their constituents and allocated the money. The money was not spent on the trucks, so who acts as management? Why was this money not spent? Where is the problem? Where is the invoices? Roy Robichaux is going around this parish telling everybody that Bo Black took his money back. That can't be proven, but that's what's being said.
And see, and that's the,
Okay.
sir, and that's the problem, not to, but this is the
We're not-
key component that we're missing here.
What's that,
was a
ma'am?
big squabble after we consolidated. We
There is-
what Mr. Black is failing to say in my final vote.
There needs to be
It
no
was
squabble.
It was a compromise. My vote was a compromise. I initially was against it, but the fighting came when Mr. Robichaux refused to work with the medical staff, and that's when everything fell apart,
Okay.
and I don't know if Mr.
So
Cormier
there needs to be no
involved in
squabble.
it.
This can work. This can work
But you need to
properly.
be honest in saying where everything broke down at. We did our job, but it was a major breakdown after.
And I agree with Ms.
Hold on, Mr.
Hold on.
Russo would like to speak. One moment. Mr.
Yeah.
Russo?
Let me just say this, let's wrap this up real quick, Mike. Can finance tell us how much is in the budget for purchasing of ambulances? Nothing?
Nothing.
So the money has been removed?
So our ordinance that we approved to purchase ambulances this year,
In 2018?
yes?
No, it was 2017.
17.
Either in 17.
Yeah, well, I looked at 2017 and I didn't see any funds there. I mean, I don't know if it was cut. I have to go back and research that, but for 2018, there's no funds available.
Okay, so
Thank
to
you.
get to the bottom
Thank you.
line-
We did
Wait a
not have
minute,
anything.
I have the floor. To get to the bottom line here, we heard your request, we have some funds coming. This body needs to either make a decision to appropriate money to buy you a couple of ambulances or not. So to drag all of this other information through here, we've been through it for 3.5 years now. There's no sense in wasting any more time on that. It's cut bait now, fish tomorrow, or whatever we do, that's where we're at. So I appreciate your comments, and I would hope that we can move on, and somebody take an ordinance, introduce it. Hold on, we got some more information. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, in the past, I can't give you an exact date, but we took the box, the ambulance part off of the back of the ambulance and bought just the chassis. It's
called remount.
The chassis, the remount. So that may be a way to save funding for the parish in the future.
I asked
But
Mr.
I
Robichaud
don't
about
know.
that. It saves $30,000 per unit. He wasn't interested.
So look,
I'm just trying to give y'all
But this-
information to help y'all.
Thank you, Ms.
understand.
Brenda. Thank you,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Brenda.
but let me just say this. You know, I understand the problem. I handled this problem for many, many years, and I know how to handle it. I'm suggesting that we move on and somebody introduce an ordinance to appropriate some money, or either the administration come forward at the next meeting with the proposals that he received, so we can make a decision within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I'd like to make one more comment about privatization. You don't control them. Their dispatchers do. Once that patient is taken out of this parish, they can dispatch them to a nursing home. It's all quite legal. Plaquemines Parish Ambulance Service serves Plaquemines Parish. We come back to Plaquemines. There's loopholes on private. If you ever live it, you'll find it.
And finally, Chairwoman Williams, I want to thank council members Roussel, Trufant, Juneau, and Bartholomew for attending the pre-council meeting yesterday. It's always good when we have the attendance because it helps us to, gives us an opportunity to talk and find solutions to problems. Thank you.
And while we're still on that presidential report, I know you made a mention of the RPC meeting. One thing that I think that we should mention here is that there was a proposal on RPC for the regional vote to reprogram some funding, but it included $26 million worth of tolls. We objected to that being in there because we do not know what the tolls would be. So as a delegation from Plaquemines Parish, we asked for that resolution to be deferred till September. And so it's important for us to get feedback from our colleagues here to decide on which direction we want to go because of the fact that they are putting tolls in the the reprogramming of funds that we don't know what really it is. So it's premature for us to do that in my mind. That's on a different subject than what we just talked about, but it was addressing your comments there.
Thank you, Councilman Roussel. That was another key point. So I wait and solicit your opinions on that.
That concludes your address, sir?
Well, before you,
Mr. Black?
yeah, before you conclude it, since he did bring up the pause issue, I have 7G on the agenda. If you want to just discuss that now, since he had brought it up, you just
Well,
do
let me
it with
see
the
if there's
president.
any other questions or comments for him, then we'll
All
move
right.
to that. Any questions or comments for the president, under the president's address from the audience? Hearing none, we'll move to item 7G on the agenda.
Update on PAWS facility and operations by PAWS Executive Board Member Danny Trosclair, Councilmember Black.
All right, thanks. The president had mentioned all the issues with pause. He also made the comment that on August 18th, that all 3 pumps were working properly. Mr. Trosclair had, I'm in very close contact with the board from pause. He's our board member, and he has a couple of comments, I think, in regards to that.
Mr. Trosclair?
Good
State your name
afternoon.
for the record, please. The
Kenny
address.
Trosclair, board member for PAWS. I'm here this afternoon to I guess, give the council and this government an update on the current situation of the building and try to come to a resolution on moving forward on exactly what is the best idea for the facility for us to continue operations in a safe manner for our employees and for the animals that reside in the parish facility. Just to clear the air, we are not at 100% of operation as reported. We're approximately 50% operation with the understanding that we have some ongoing contractors and people working with our team to get the air conditioning system and the building in working order. It's my understanding also that Mr. Cormier is looking for some sort of answer from PAWS, and I'm here today to give you that answer. I really don't know the actual question. If I can ask you personally, what is it that you're looking for, and I can deliver that.
Yes, Mr. Trosclair, at the meeting on Monday with PAWS manager, we discovered in the, well, first, I'll hand you one of these. This was a letter from Mr. Woody Yandell with the industrial pump sales.
So I was briefed on that meeting very, very thoroughly, so just to give you a heads up.
That letter it speaks for itself, and we'll pass it around to the council members. But that was the contractor that we hired, and he's the one who ordered the pumps that were manufactured in New York. And he states that the pressures were developing by the pumps were developing the expected discharge pressures. Now, that's the first part. The second part is, at the meeting on Monday, and this goes to your question directly, we found in the original specs that the summer design temperature for the kennels and out holding places was only 82 degrees. And that's why Mr. Yandell states in his letter, systems deficiencies will remain.
So let's just clear, that's a minimum standard, correct?
That was the design temperature. So,
right, so that's the design temperature for animals. We have human beings that work in there as well. I'm sure that you all don't work in 82 degrees. And when I know when these tests were done,
I agree with you.
It was early in the morning. We've been having a lot of rain. So I think that was a huge effect on this test. I'm just saying that for the record.
And I agree with you, Mr. Trosclair. This was from the original specs back in 2011? So we agreed. I agreed with the manager that 82 degrees was not acceptable. It was too warm. Unfortunately, that was what this system was designed to output.
Just clarify, that's not for all areas. Just clarify, though, that's for one specific, that's for the guillotine area, Mr. Trosclair.
I stated, Councilman Black, it was for the kennels and holding areas.
Yeah.
You're right.
Not the working areas.
There were three design temperatures. One was at, we posted it even, I think, on the public site. One was at 74 degrees, one was at 82, and we felt that, and I thought we had an agreement with PAWS management that that was unacceptable. 82 degrees was too hot.
Whatever the temperatures are, they're not working at full capacity. So I'm not here to cry foul. I'm here to figure out what's the best solution for the taxpayers that help us run this facility and what's best for the government to make decisions on. That's why I'm here today.
Thank you, Mr. Trosclair.
So our recommendation is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was $150,000 that was appropriated so far?
Correct. Correct.
Have we spent any of that money?
Yes, we have, and if you don't mind, at this point, I'm going to turn it over. You mind on the contract? What's the amount for the?
It was supposed to be
we have signed it. We have approved. I have approved the contract with the entity year-round. I can't remember his last name, but what's his name?
It was 13,000 and something.
Lo Giudice? Or Lo Giudice or something? No, Bill Lo Giudice. He's the gentleman with year-round heating and AC. I believe they might have had something to do with the installation, but we've signed that contract with them. What we're gonna do is we're gonna
What does that do? What does that contract do?
It provides full maintenance service over a once-over on the 14 heat pumps and the 3 loop pumps. And the 3 loop pumps, I believe, that's where we've been having the biggest issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, the 3 loop pumps being what cools the compressors, it was told to me. And when the compressors aren't cool, there's an automatic, Mr. Gary Becker, who's one of the parish employees, our only AC guy. We used to have 3 AC guys in the parish, now we only have 1. But he said that those compressors kick off.
Yeah, there's a 2-part system to it.
Yeah.
And I understand that everything's, or supposedly everything's on order to get these pumps up and running. That's what PAW's recommendation is.
Well, we're following your recommendation.
And so there's been some discussion, I don't know where, but on the outside, about replacing the entire air conditioning system. And that, in my opinion, is not the route we would like to see this go because of the face or the future and the condition of the building that we operate in. So obviously there's litigation that we can't discuss about the building, but if there's a possibility of us not being in that building or it basically being torn down, I can't see us spending $250,000 for a system that's not going to fix our problem. I would rather see the funding through your administration go towards temporary structural repairs, and I'm asking you and this administration to work with PAWS to utilize those funds as best as possible. We are a very limited, funded operation, nonprofit organization. Just to brief you on some of the things that we do, the parish gives us about $220,000 a year. That covers about 45% of our budget, which does not even cover our salaries, which most of our employees are minimum wage, and they're working in these conditions right now. So our funding comes from fundraisers, local citizens. We reach out to different groups, and we have a lot of in-kind donations. We have a lot of good people in this parish to keep this facility running. And this is a tremendous opportunity. And from what I understand, I wasn't involved in the beginning, but I've learned to enjoy what I'm doing now, and I think it's for a great cause. Because I believe after Katrina, or prior to Katrina, every 9 out of 10 animals in this parish was euthanized. We've turned that around. We save every 9 out of 10 lives. And to my knowledge, I think we still hold the only no-kill shelter in the state of Louisiana, and we're very proud of that, and we'd like to keep that. Contrary to some of the comments that I've heard that happened at the Monday meeting, I won't get into that discussion, but the citizens of this parish deserve to have this facility in a clean and safe habitat. So if you have any other comments, I'd like to hear them.
I thank you for your volunteer service, and I think you came in a little late. We did state that it's our belief, and correct me if I'm wrong, Plaquemines has the only zero-kill shelter on the West Bank to service pretty much from Harahan all the way, not Harahan, West Wego, pretty much to Algiers. And so we thank you for your service, thank you for what you do. Without disclosing, you mentioned the litigation, without disclosing anything, but this is public record, I can share this with you because back in 2013, and Councilman Lapine was on the council then, I'll note, as far back as then, Plaquemines Parish government paid for a study by Rimkus Consulting Group. And I won't bore you with all the details. This is public record. If you want a copy, I'll get you one. But pretty much the power reports revealed that the power lengths were 55 to 65 feet, where they should have been 75 or greater, depending on the amount of topsoil. So there are some concerns.
So, look, we appreciate the help that the parish gives us, and we want to continue to service the citizens of this parish. But we would like to have a lot better communication with your department with these decisions on expenditures, so we could keep our employees up to date on what they can expect.
Thank you.
And we appreciate that.
And would you agree, I don't know if you can speak for Paws, but would you agree that we should agree that 82 degrees is too warm?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd like to do a joint statement saying that 82 degrees is too warm, and that we will use that in that
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, do you agree? I mean, he's talking about the run area.
I don't know what...
Kennels and, the specs said kennels and holding area.
I understand that. It's not the whole area for people. The specs say 74 in the summer. You have a copy of it, Mr. Levine?
Whatever the specs say, whatever the specs say for the building.
The kennel, there's three different areas. The kennel holding area, the specs, the design temps specs are 82 in the summer, 80 in the winter. The sterile core is 68 in the summer and 68 in the winter. In all other areas, which is where people work, it's 74 in the summer and 70 in the winter. I think those specs are pretty good temperatures. So he wants you to do a joint statement to say, we need a new system because 82 is too high, and failing to say that.
Whatever the specs are is what we would like for them to be.
Right.
In whatever areas they need to be in.
Right.
The other issue is maintenance. We've, and I don't know if Raymond's here or not, but we did a complete overhaul about a year ago. This just didn't happen in July, so I don't know where that came from. We've been dealing with this for about 2 years. So we've put in several, in our agreement, we're to notify the parish if there is any issues. We've lived up to our agreement. We continue to do that, and I'm sure there's records of that. The parish did, the maintenance department did an overhaul about a year ago. At that time, they recommended that the filters get changed every 30 days, and in the summertime, every 2 weeks because of the high volume. That has fallen on deaf ears. It took us about 8 months to even get that done. We started getting recommendations and to have our employees do that, which are not qualified to do that. Our insurance doesn't cover us for that, and I believe it's the parish's responsibility to take care of their building. We raise a lot of money on our own, and we do, I'm sure our employees step over a few boundaries, but as far as maintaining a parish building, I don't think they're qualified to do that. I know they're not. So we'd ask to have regular maintenance as well on a monthly basis, filters, and I think this will resolve most of our issues.
And you're correct, Mr. Trosclair, Raymond's not here. I can cite, though, this is an email from Raymond to Amanda Lee. Amanda Lee was with Paws, I don't know what capacity, but Raymond had said that Thaddeus, agreed to have someone from Paws check the filters and change them.
He's no longer with Paws, so...
Okay. I'm just referencing, this was an email from July of 2017. So we have looked at the CEA, and we're proud of the fact that we are the only place on the West Bank that has a no-kill shelter. That's a good, valuable thing. We are, though, down to one AC man for the whole parish, Mr. Gary Becker. And the man works very hard. He's a great employee. But, sometimes he's called down to buildings in Boothville or the East Bank. This Davant air condition, I mean, the council can tell you, we've had to move the meeting several times because we have problems with the training system here.
Well, I could tell you I walked in downstairs and the air conditioned filter needs to be cleaned, but very bad.
Yeah. But he's down to, Gary Becker is working by himself. In prior years, there were several air conditioned employees for the parish.
So we have the funding, and we're just so we have that understanding, it's not at 100%, it's at 50%, and we're going to continue to work with you guys to make sure we get our facility up and running, and in a safe condition as quickly and swiftly as possible. It's not a safe condition, and I invite anybody to come tour the facility, look at what our conditions are, and I think you would agree we deserve a better workplace for these folks.
Thank you, Mr. Trosky.
I agree. I just want to end it, my comments with this, is that for the public's knowledge, this is a letter from Industrial Pump Sales discussing the shipments of the pumps, which, as I said last council meeting, and this is no disrespect to you, Mr. Giles, this is actually not at you, but I made the comment about we miraculously get information today at a council meeting. This is dated today. So maybe we should have council meetings once a week, and we probably get things done.
Well, we'll You know, Councilman Black, that's the type of lack of civility. Your last council meeting, you accused Director Giles, you questioned his integrity. And that doesn't get us, it doesn't move us forward, Councilman Black. I know we can't take politics out of this, but this man is a tireless employee worker. You cut his salary to part-time for a year, and he kept working, doing the job. But that doesn't carry us on.
Mr. You done? Yeah. Mr. Roussel?
Yes. I hope there is better communication between the PAWS board, employees, and administration, and I hope it's not on Facebook. I hope it's actual communication, person to person. After all of this event evolved, I've taken the opportunity to do a little bit of research on this, and there's enough blame to go around for everybody. I think that we need to regroup and have some more communication. And with that, I'm hoping that this new communication line that we're talking about works, because there is a lot of effort being made to solve this problem from what I understand, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for your comment.
We'll see how things progress.
And thanks for putting us on the agenda on such short notice.
Mr. Lapine?
Mr. Trosclair, were you present at the meeting on Monday morning, or any of the representatives here were present on Monday morning? Could they tell me if Raymond Ferrera was at that meeting?
No.
He was not present?
You're going to have to come to the mic, ma'am, if you want to speak. And state your name, please.
Melissa Barnes, I'm the operations manager at PAWS. I asked Ms. Raymond about comment. He said he was not invited to the meeting.
Okay. He's the director of our health department who knows the ins and outs of every part of that PAWS, and he wasn't there?
Yes, he was not there because he said he was not invited.
Okay. And your take on the meeting Monday morning?
I don't understand a lot of this engineering stuff. They brought a lot of the specs out to say what the air conditioner was supposed to be doing for us. We never came to a conclusion. We were only there for about 45 minutes, and then President Cormier had to leave for another meeting, so nothing was ever really...
And Councilman Lapine, would you please inform Ms. Barnes
Wait, let him finish.
that I left to be in your meeting?
I haven't yielded the floor.
Okay.
Let him finish, and then you can make a statement, sir.
Also, today, as of today, how is the air conditioner running today?
On the PAWS side, both dog runs are still out, so I have fans and portable units running. The unit that runs my office, the conference room, and break room is out. On the animal control side, just about everything is out except one room. No, I apologize, 2 rooms are running, everything else is out. So I have fans and portable units running.
Okay. Thank you for information today. And
we have,
go ahead.
There are 3 pumps. The top pump is not working. The seal is totally busted, so nothing is running. With that pump, the second pump is the one that was brought in on Saturday and replaced, and the third pump is working maybe 50%.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Ms. Williams, let me just share this. I was at the meeting Monday, and like Ms. Melissa said, there's a lot of technical stuff that we don't understand, but we're doing our best to get things running. Even yesterday, I think she emailed me around 12, say they had issues with the AC unit. I called James to get someone out there. So someone from year-round heating did show up yesterday to work on it. And this morning, Gary had a doctor's appointment, so Gary couldn't make it. But we do have 2 employees who should have been there this morning from year-round heating also. So we're working to get it done. It's not like we're just sitting around not doing anything. As soon as we get it, we're moving on it. We can't help. The building's in deplorable condition. The roof has been repaired. We're trying to get the electrician there as soon as possible. And we're working on the AC unit. But sometimes things happen. But I don't want anyone to leave here thinking we're sitting on our hands and not doing anything, because that's not true. We're doing the best we can do. And like I said, we had 2 technicians who were supposed to be there this morning, and 1 was supposed to be there yesterday evening. And last time I checked, James said the guy came there yesterday, and he was supposed to be there this morning.
Thank you.
I just wish this would have been done a lot faster. This has been over a month that my animals have been in this heat.
And
that's my only thing.
Ms. Barnes, I have here in my hand a letter. The reason why Mr. Raymond is also very busy, and if I thought that this was a health issue, but I won't go into the state findings on the issues of deficiency at PAWS. That's why I didn't invite him. I didn't want to go in that direction. We were there to try to fix the problem, which was the AC. From January 6, 2012, this was from Miss Sherry McCoy, who was a PAWS manager in 2012, and she states here that there was no air in the cat rooms, and a list of all other problems. And this was to Raymond. So this has been an ongoing problem, and I don't know. I'll reference the CEA, as Councilman Roussel did. That's why I invited, and I thank you for coming to the meeting on Monday. But the CEA states that if we need to collaborate, we need to talk together. And just for the record, I left the meeting, and someone said you were upset about my meeting.
No, no, that was fine.
Okay.
I understand you have things to do, and you know.
But I left that meeting to have a meeting with Councilman Lapine.
That's fine.
And Councilman Roussel on the courthouse. So believe me, we certainly appreciate your efforts.
No, she doesn't live in this parish, but so she lives in Orleans Parish, and we really appreciate what she does with that.
Well, thank you.
Thank y'all.
I mean, it's no big deal.
Miss Alvant?
Yeah, Mr. Cole, I think Mr. Roussel said it best earlier. Everybody is working from both sides to trying to resolve this problem. So, I mean, the attitudes and all of the negativity, I think we can just get past that and continue to have the administration to work with PAWS, try and move forward, and everybody drop their attitude. And let's not make this an election squabble, because that's what it's turning into. It's turning into who you support, who you don't support, and then your dogs and cats are still in the middle. So, I mean, I agree with Mr. Roussel. Let's move
Thank you, Ms. Audrey. Mr. Juneau?
Yes, ma'am. I thank y'all for coming, but I want to ask you, are you still accepting animals with the situation the way it is?
Yes, sir, we have to.
Why can't you send them to that new, beautiful Jefferson Parish facility?
Because they're full. Every shelter in this city is full.
Well, we are full. So does that cause a bigger problem?
I'm sorry?
Right now, don't you have more cats than you should have?
Probably. Yeah. But I also have a lot of dogs and cats that are in foster care right now. So we put it out there that we need animals to be fostered to get them out of the building.
Right.
We have animals, we have adoption events, we have things that we post about the dogs and cats to try to get them adopted.
But it's not your fault that you're full.
No.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's not your fault.
It's summertime.
If you would refuse taking more in, because right now we have a problem. So to solve the problem, I think it would be better if you would ask the people to please take care of themselves for a while until you get better. Would that be better?
No, that's not acceptable.
The times a week.
Why is that not acceptable? They refuse
we've
people
had times where
hospitals.
we've declined people because they want to bring us an animal that was not found in this parish, and an hour later somebody brings in that same animal because they found it on the side of the road.
Well, I agree.
Or the next morning, we come in and it's tied to
But
the
it's
front
not
pole.
helping the situation.
Oh, I agree with
That's
you,
what I'm saying.
but we're an open admission shelter. We can't deny people that come in the door with these animals. We just do the best we can with it. I mean, we have to give them the care that when they come in. We don't,
But they can deny humans at a hospital,
No, I
but
don't
you
believe
can't
that's
deny.
true either. But
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Juneau. Next item. Y'all done?
I'm done.
Does that conclude y'all? That concludes your, issue? Mr. Frostler?
How you doing? My name is Frank Guerrero. I live in Jesuit Bend. Let me tell you something. All shelters are full, not just PAWS. And they do a case where they have to refuse animals. When I get calls, because I do a lot of rescues, when I get calls in Jesuit Bend from people that you know, call me and ask me to pick up an animal because they don't want it or they want to get rid of it or whatever, I either have to bring it to PAWS. I can't bring it to Orleans because Orleans don't take our animals, and neither does Harahan. Orono and Harahan. All these animal shelters are full, okay? And like you say, turn away? No, they can't do that. How are they going to do that? Also, I'd like to ask Reverend Giles a question. Can you tell me when those pumps were ordered?
No. I'm not going to tell him that. I'm telling the truth. I don't know if it was June 17, July 17, whatever it was, I could get the information for you.
I got the information.
Well,
7/27 they were ordered. They wasn't ordered 7.
When it was?
7/27, because I spoke to the man himself the other day. It wasn't July the 17th, it was July 27th.
Well, when it was 7, I know it was
Okay,
7.
well, I mean, I'm just setting the record straight that they wasn't ordered on the 17th, they were ordered on the 27th.
What I'm saying is, I don't know off the top of my head, and I said, I think it was the 17 or whatever.
Okay.
So, I appreciate what you just said. I'm not trying to make nothing up.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frank.
There is a technical issue we probably do need. One of the things we need to work out is the CEA has lapsed. And so right now, we're just sort of going with momentum. So we need to renegotiate
Well, y'all
the
can get
CEA.
together and renegotiate
And I
that
think,
and present
I'm
it.
hoping that we can have some
Absolutely.
give and take and maybe find some ways. Because at present, there's some issues like, for instance, PAWS when they adopt the animals and when they take in the donations. None of that offsets any of the costs for Plaquemines Parish.
Y'all can discuss that and then present it to the council.
I just want to put everything on the table and like the maintenance issues with the various
Okay.
filters and
We're open for
whatnot.
discussion on
Yeah,
that.
that can be
great.
discussed in a
Thank you.
private meeting between the administration and the PAWS board. Okay, Mr. Henry, you got a comment on PAWS?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, this will wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up.
Wrap it up, Mr.
Hey,
Henry.
it's election time. Listen, this has been going on for months. And I've been here, it's been going on for years. Listen, we got to stop doing everything political sometimes. You got to just do right for the people, man. This thing, don't make it political. The jobs, the president, and Mr. Black. Man, you guys got to learn how to come together on issues, man. Stop making everything political. Give a solution, solve. Get it solved for the people. For the people, man. We got to stop this bickering, man.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Henry.
election time, but look, let's start doing things for the people.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, please. Bids and advertisements.
Bids and advertisements.
Hi, I'm Brenda Stanifer, the Plaquemines Parish.
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing one or more portable hydraulic power unit with digester pump head for a period of 1 year for use by Water and Sewer Department.
Hi, I'm Brenda Stanifer, the Plaquemines Parish Purchasing Agent. After due advertisements, bids were received July 31st from the following: Fluid Process of Harahan, United Rentals of Kenner, and Thompson Pump of Port Orange, Florida. Mr. Robert Morgan, Project Manager of Infomark, recommends the acceptance of the low bid of Thompson Pump for item number 1 and the acceptance of the bid of United Rentals for item number 2 as the pump head meets the required specifications.
Thank you, Ms. Sanford. Can y'all please quiet down in the audience or step out if y'all don't mind? So you offering?
Yes, ma'am.
your resolution. Any questions or comments from the table on the resolution?
Wait.
I'll offer. Get a second? Seconded by Mr. Roussel. Questions or comments? Hearing none, machine is open. No, excuse me, sir, can you please scoot back we can't see the board.
There you go, Christian.
Thank you. Behind the table, if possible? No, you're going to have to move back, sir, because you're in the view of the camera. Thank you. Let the record, Ms. Edgecombe, you voting?
No, ma'am.
Let the record reflect the resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Let's take the, beer and liquor license, I'm sorry. I'm moving ahead of myself.
Beer and liquor licenses.
Mr. Black? Dean?
I have one. A special events beer and liquor permit for Plaquemines Parish Animal Welfare Society for one-night fundraiser being held September 14, 2018 at the Belchase Auditorium.
Mr. Juneau? I have none. Mr. Roussel? Mr. Burt?
I have none.
Ms. Salvant?
I have none.
Mr. Edgecombe?
None, ma'am.
I'll offer.
Second.
Offered by Mr. Lapine, seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions or comments from the table or the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Passes 8-0. Can we take the construction permits in global if there's no objections, please?
4A1 Crimson Gulf LLC application number 2018-531, dated July 20th, 2018. Install sandbags over existing 6-inch pipeline in an area of exposure and/or where the pipelines have insufficient cover. Grand Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 2, Lavaca River Operating Company, LLC, application number 2018-298, dated April 24, 2018. Excavate a borrowed ditch and use material to build ring levees at an existing well site. Install land-based drilling rig and drill the Enclave Well Number 1, Empire Field, Councilmember Edgecombe. Woodland Borrow Pits, LLC, application number 2018-571, dated August 8, 2018. Install temporary dredge pipeline and pump discharge line across the Mississippi River levee, existing sand pit, 22441 Highway 23, West Point, Lahash, Councilmember Trufant Salvant. Number 4, Allard Bladsacker, application number 2018-585, dated August 13, 2018. Install boat shed and dock, 107 Kingfisher Lane, Myrtle Grove, Phase 2, Councilmember Trufant Salvant. And number 5, Hellas Oil and Gas Company, LLC, application number 2018-477, dated June 29, 2018. Jet along existing 3-inch pipeline in order to identify and repair an obstruction in the pipeline, West Black Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Ms. Salvant, would you like to offer those?
Yes, I would offer, providing that every one of them meet the requirement of the permit departments. Ms. Amitra?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
Offered by Ms. Salvant. Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Roussel. Any questions or comments on the construction permits from the table or audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. That's 6-0. At this time, I would like to list the deferrals or withdrawals from the agenda. Item 4B will be withdrawn. I'm sorry, deferred. Deferred. I'm sorry, deferred. 4B will be deferred. 6B, C, G, H, and Q will be deferred. 6B, C, G, H, and Q will be deferred. I'm sorry, not Q. I'm sorry. Withdrawals will be items 6J and 6D. 6D and 6J will be withdrawn. 7C will be deferred since Councilmember Bartholomew is not here. Let's take 4C, D, E, and F in Globo, please.
4C, PPSO Shooting Range Training Facility, new building in a floodplain zoning district, 18038 Highway 23, Myrtle Grove, Louisiana. Councilmember Trufant Salvan. D, Albert Blatzecker, new resident in a floodplain zoning district, 107 Kingfisher Lane, Myrtle Grove, Louisiana. Councilmember Trufant Salvan. Clubhouse Bar and Grill, Debbie Kiefer, fireworks stand renewal, 8133 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Juneau. And F is Harold Herman Jr., new residence in a floodplain zoning district, 348 Myrtle Grove Road, Myrtle Grove, Louisiana. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
I'll offer.
Ms. Salvan offers. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Ordinance passes 7-0. Next item.
Introductions of ordinances and resolutions.
Councilman Black?
Yes, I have one. A resolution to authorize the council, special counsel, to take such actions that are necessary to compel the parish president to adhere to the consent judgment issued in the matter of Plaquemines Parish Council versus Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier III, docket number 64047, Division A, 25th, JDC, Plaquemines Parish, State of Louisiana, including but not limited to a motion for contempt and to provide for related matters. That's all.
Councilmember Lapine? Juneau? I have several. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, regulatory upgrades, capacity increase BC water treatment project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish government, represented by the parish president, to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, perfect, and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Plaquemines Parish Assessor's Office for the cost sharing of professional services for the collection of data and the valuation of certain oil and gas personal property located in Plaquemines Parish for the 2019 ad valorem tax year and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Community Action Agency to prepare the necessary application to the Louisiana Housing Corporation for a grant to provide utility assistance to the residents of Plaquemines Parish for the fiscal year 2019, and authorizing the president of Plaquemines Parish government to sign and submit said application and contract and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Community Agency to prepare the necessary application to the Louisiana Workforce Commission, receiving the Community Services Block Grant funds for the program year 2019, authorizing the President of the Plaquemines Parish Government to sign and submit said application and contract and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Community Action Agency to prepare and file an application with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development on behalf of Plaquemines Parish Government for a grant under 49 CFR 5311, Formula Grant for Rural Areas, and/or 49 CFR 5339, Grants for Bus and Bus Facility Program, as amended, to provide public rural transportation to the residents of Plaquemines Parish, and further authorizing Plaquemines Parish President to execute and file with such application and assurance or any other documents required and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. In order to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the horizontal curve treatment parish-wide project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Mr. Roussel.
Have an ordinance to amend and as amended readopt Section 22-8, subparagraph 1 of the Code of Ordinances to establish water rates and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan AMI system implementation parish-wide project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And an ordinance adopting the Plaquemines Parish government travel and other employee expenses, policies, and procedures and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Burt.
Have one. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan, drainage, Jesuit Bend project, and the levee maintenance and equipment project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That is all.
Ms. Salvant?
None.
Ms. Edgecombe?
None.
None. Next item, please.
6E, An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, repair Scarsdale Pump Station project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer on behalf of Councilmember Bartholomew in his absence.
And I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Roussel. This is appropriating a total of $1,190,835.02 to the repairs of Scarsdale Pump Station project, $789,352.75 from the Levee Lift Engineering Breakaway White Ditch Levee project, and $401,482.27 from the Levee Improvements East Bank project funding year 2018. Is there any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
A resolution authorizing Parish President Amos Corney III or his designee to seek proposals, bids, or quotes to manage and operate the Plaquemines Parish Recreation North concession stands and/or any other concession stands as needed throughout the parish if warranted, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Black.
I'll offer.
Councilmember Black offers. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Lapine. Black. Offer is read. Offer is read. Is there any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Yes, Ms. Audrey.
Mr. Black, I know we had a conversation regarding the concession stands on yesterday at the pre-council meeting, but after I got home, I thought about it. Will this affect the Ralph Halpern field?
It should affect all field.
What?
Will this affect the Ralph?
Roger Halpern field viewers?
It's up to the administration. I mean, I'm just really doing this because the Belchase North Booster Club is no longer active, and we need concessions at those fields. That's why I put the verbiage in there that as needed or where needed. So if you elect not to do it at the Roger Halpern field or Rex field or whatever other field, you don't have to. I mean, it's just an option.
Yeah, I just
but
thought
for us in
that's-
Belchase,
Yeah, well, and I realize that's what it initiated from the Belchase request, but
Yeah.
I thought about the park on the southern end, because it definitely wouldn't apply to the park in Arlington, so.
yeah. I mean, I think they do a pretty good job, from what I understand, at that
Okay.
field. So you don't need it.
Yeah.
You need it because
Okay,
nobody's doing
I
it.
just
Yeah.
thought I'd pose that question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
An ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Maintenance Department, District Attorney Building, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to offer with the changes that were passed out previously, and those changes are Section 2 will become 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, District Attorney General Department is amended as follows. It's going to list that the money will come from account 528.315 Maintenance Computers and 532.000 Professional Services. 7,000 coming out of maintenance computers and 8,000 out of the professional services. So this money will come, instead of the general fund, it will come out of the DA's fund. Any second? I'll offer with those changes. Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Any questions or comments? From the table, from the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 6 with 2 abstentions, 1 from Districts 2 and 3. Next item.
K, an ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Community Action Agency Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Roussel. This is just to receive a grant. Correct? Yes. Questions or comments from the table? Audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan by appropriating $38,138 to the feasible study Baptiste Colette Dread Deepening Project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Seconded by Mr. Edgecombe. This is also funding that we were awarded in the amount of $38,138 from DOTD to go towards the Baptiste feasibility study for Baptiste Colette. Questions or comments from the table? The audience? Yes?
I thought that this feasibility study had been completed. Is this for an outstanding invoice, or is this reimbursement for local funds?
This came from the administration.
Where is it?
This came from the administration. We'll pass over. We'll revert back to this.
6M, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of donations for the Recreation Department and to amend the General Fund 2018 operating revenue and expenditure budgets, Recreation Facilities and Services Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lapine. This is to accept donations into the Recreation Department for a total of $725 from various organizations, and I guess I can name them. The Belle Chase Youth Development is donating $250, West Bank Wolfpack $275, Penny Gas Station LLC $100, and Eagle Auto Body $100. Questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
6N, an ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan, Plaquemines Parish Ferry Preventative Maintenance for year 2015 project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Roussel. This is the acceptance of a grant, correct, Mr. Dugas? For the ferry, the 2015 project?
Yes, it'd be matched.
$240,000 with the match coming from us of $60,000, right? The total is appropriating $300,000.
I believe this is one that Ms. Hilda's handling. This is not the same one for the ferry ramps.
Okay. That's yeah. It's a match. We'll put up $60,000, and the grant will be $240,000.
Yeah, this is an FTA grant. It's not an FHWA, so that's one she's handling.
Okay.
It's right.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
An ordinance to amend the 2018 general fund balance designations and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Roussel?
I'll offer and ask for a second.
Mr. Roussel offers. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau.
Yes, what this does, it restores funding back to the bond indebtedness fund and to the emergency fund that we took funding from earlier in the year.
Questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
P, an ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan, repairs, Fort St. Leon drainage project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Roussel?
I'll offer and ask for a second.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Burt.
Yes. This moves some money from the levee project that was completed into a drainage project at Fort St. Leon.
Questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open.
Thank you.
Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
6Q, an ordinance to amend the 2018 general fund operating revenue budget and fund balance designation for BP settlement and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to offer filling in the blank on line 8 with $11,005,752.75.
Want to repeat that again?
$11,005,752.75.
I don't know how to write that big of a number.
11,005,752.75.
I had to think about it.
I ain't seen one that big in a long time.
75 cents.
It's a lot of money.
And with that, I offer. Get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Russo. This is acceptance of the BP, part of the BP settlement funds, to go into the BP settlement fund. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, machine is open. Legislation passes 8-0. Next item.
6R, an ordinance to amend the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Legal Judgments Department, line item salaries and wages for settlement of case number 64-358, 25th JDC Division B, authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government to fund a civil service administrator position and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes that were passed out. The changes will be on line 7. In the blank, we're going to insert $10,000. On line 10, that blank will read $10,000 from the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Flood Control Department, salaries and wages regular. On line 19, by transferring $10,000 from the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Flood Control Department, salaries and wages. On line 26, under amendment, it'll read $10,000, or $10,000. On line 33, it'll read of $22,800 as follows from the 2018 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Flood Control Department, salaries and wages regular. Line 35, it will be $15,810 from salaries and wages. From on line 36, it will be $230 from taxes. On line 37, $1,820. From these are from the Civil Service Department. For the Civil Service Department. $1,820 for retirement and $4,940 for group insurance, for a total of $22,800. And with those changes, I offer. Is there a second? Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Black. Mr. Garrett, would you like to elaborate on this? Paula does. The civil service. Microphone. The $10,000 in the position.
There, in an effort to try to resolve sort of 3 lawsuits that are surrounding this, this would appropriate money to serve as a settlement for a portion of it and to recreate the position that was defunded back in 2016 that ultimately led to this litigation. And we got with finance to see how much that would be for the remainder of the year to fund that position. It would be contingent and effective only upon Ms. Dove and Civil Service agreeing to resolve and settle all of the pending litigation. So the adoption of this ordinance would not obligate any payment. They would have to accept it. It just appropriates the money so that a payment could be made to make the settlement, and also as part of the settlement funding the position again, because the position is not currently funded in the 2018 budget.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Hearing none, the machine is open. Legislation passes 6 with 6 votes, 2 abstentions from districts 7 and 8. Did y'all get an answer to 6L? Still waiting? Still waiting. Okay. We'll defer that to the next meeting. We'll defer item 6L on the agenda. Next item.
7B, an update and presentation by District 7, Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I would like to call Mr. Vince Frelich to the mic and give us a brief update on the dredging projects in my district. Mr. Vince?
Mr. Vince, can you come give an update on the District 7 dredging?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were talking about. We were trying to discuss something on another.
Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I just need you to give an update to the public on the dredge project in my district. Where are we?
Okay, maybe Ken can help me out with that. The bids are going out, and I think we've already selected the contractor. Ken, could you elaborate on that?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Salvant, the last update I had was the survey was being completed with a side scan sonar to determine debris that was underwater. That was supposed to be completed by September and Moben in September. So it's coming.
Okay. Okay, and I would like to make a note that at every council meeting, we at least have an update just to inform, because I'm getting a lot of calls from my constituents, because you know that it was something that's supposed to be on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just be prepared to do a little update every council meeting, no matter where we are, if he's just repeating what was said last month.
Yes,
okay?
Okay.
All right, and I would like to move on to the reopening of Darrington Park, which is going to take place on September 8th. Our park have not been utilized since Katrina, and this is a big deal for the community. We're looking forward to a community-wide effort, matter of fact, a parish-wide effort. All of you guys are invited to come out. There's going to be a lot of pop-up tents. I know there's major election going on. All of the candidates is welcome to come out and speak to the community. And it's just going to be a fun time. A lot of good eating and a lot of good music and fun time. We're just happy to have our park.
What's the date?
Yes, a lot of food. Did not say food? Yes, it's going to be a lot of food.
Always food.
Yes. Yes.
What time, Miss Audrey? You said September 8th?
It's going to start at 8 o'clock that morning.
8 a.m.
Right. Yeah, but we're going to be setting up around 8, but with the public is welcome beginning at 12.
Oh, 12. Okay.
12 o'clock.
12 p.m.
We saw that.
Yes.
Have you spoken to Director Henry to possibly utilize that field during his baseball season, so you cut the travel time out between people coming up or coming down?
I'm in communication with a matter of fact, a bunch of the coaches.
Okay, good.
They're looking toward utilizing that field. Matter of fact, one of them have offered to come in and cut the infield.
Yeah.
You know, to make it work for the young kids, the 6 and under and all. So yeah, we're working together with that because, like you said, it would help out on the southern end. It would be like a median.
Right. Yeah. Right.
For a run, but and I want to thank Mr. Beshel. I don't want to go without saying, but I need to back up before I thank Beshel. I need to go back to Stanley Wallace, our original director. He played a major part after I negotiated with Mr. Pivach, and he stepped up to the plate and offered the property there for us to enlarge the park. First, I need to thank him, and secondly, Mr. Wallace, and I want to thank Mr. Beshel for stepping up to the plate and taking care of every request I made to him. He stepped up to the plate and made it work. And the community, on behalf of the community want to thank you also. So I'm just inviting everyone out to come and celebrate with us. Thank you.
That concludes your presentation? Update? Okay. Next item, please.
D, District 2 update.
Defer.
7E, discussion regarding Noble Drive drainage. Councilmember Black.
Yeah, I sent a couple emails, Mr. Beshel. I talked to Mr. Dugas as well. So, I mean, you guys both saw the photos. I think went out there and took a look at it. What's the status of that? It looks like, go ahead.
The culvert behind Noble Drive between Royal Crescent and Noble Drive has several voids along that servitude.
Yeah.
We're in the process of putting it on our schedule. I don't have that date just yet, when that's going to be, but heavy equipment will have to be scheduled to go and excavate it so we can figure out what the failures are caused by.
All right.
Council meetings, hopefully.
Okay, thanks. I've been getting burnt up with calls.
Yes, it's been 3 times
40 residents.
this year,
Yeah,
and I know that.
yeah.
With problem I've been running into with the schedule is that we have so much intergovernmental things that I have to do with, roads and pipes breaking, we have to go down and fix those, and just things we have to do, and it takes away from my time, and I'll beat the dead horse again, it just comes down to manpower.
Right.
That's why I can't, it's so hard for me to follow a schedule.
Do you think it's, I mean, it might be Ken's answer, but feasible to maybe third-party it, or?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Just let me know.
I understand where you're coming from, but I just got to beat that horse.
All right.
Because it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
So, and if you can go to the next one. It's going to be
the
pretty
next
much
one
the
is,
same.
Oak Road drainage.
Yeah, that's pretty much sweeping a ditch.
Yeah, that ditch, for some reason, it looks like, and I drove back there, and I'm not sure if it's too muddy or something, or there's some issues with getting the tractors behind the Springwood fence where Oak Road stops.
There's 2 ditches on that project. We have one that goes from the cul-de-sac of Oak Road to the Springwood Canal.
Yeah.
That needs to be cleaned out. And then on the backside from Oak Road, there's a culvert that goes towards Industry Canal. That also needs to be cleaned out as well. Those 2 are on the list together.
Okay. Where's the culvert at on?
There's a culvert that goes from Oak Road that runs towards Industry Canal. It's a 4-foot culvert.
Okay. We can't just remove it?
It's at the corner of the Springwood subdivision.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. All right. Yeah, I mean, those are my 2 major issues with drainage. They flooded every time. So, yeah, just I put it on the agenda because I hadn't heard anything. So.
Well, I'll get to it.
All right, Don. Thanks.
Thank you, Don.
7H, discussion on NFIP, Councilmember Roussel.
Yes, I'm going to wind up deferring this because I see the floodplain manager is not here, and I understand he has another problem. But to raise the issue for the next meeting, what I'm trying to determine is that we have had letters in the past that were issued to our constituents determining that under the new flood maps that were adopted by this government for inside the 100-year protection, they were giving a letter that stated basically what their what their designation was in that area. And then they had some conversation between FEMA and our floodplain manager, and he altered the letter to say that this letter was not for insurance purposes. And now the problem I have with that is those letters were working, and there is evidence to show that there are individuals who fought the battle with their insurance agents and actually got refunds from FEMA and a reduced rate on their premiums. Now, a lot of people were turned down, some were not. It just tells you how dysfunctional FEMA can be. And so I'm curious to know why and what prompted him as an employee of Plaquemines Parish government to change the letter, because now the letter doesn't serve any purpose for anybody who's trying to fight the battle. And my indication to him was that he's an employee of Plaquemines Parish government, and I would hope that he would return to writing the letter without that sentence and let the public have the opportunity to at least go to their insurance agent and fight the battle. So I'm going to defer the item until the next meeting.
Item has been deferred.
Number 8, approval of the minutes from the August 9, 2018 meeting.
I so offer.
Offered by Councilmember Roussel. I'll second. Meeting is open. Ms. Alvant? Minutes are adopted, 8-0.
Move to adjourn.
Councilmember Roussel offers a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Juneau. Machine is open. Oh, I did. It didn't want to stay. Meeting is adjourned at 3:22 p.m.
Put it in the paper. He said, "Tell me to go to the park."